So here we have a classic case of an album that when I originally listened to it, I didn't really feel too connected with it, so I put it on the shelf and I waited for some of the dust to settle. And when I revisited it, I listened to it with a whole new appreciation. Bottled Out of Eden by Knifeworld. So Knifeworld is a solo project by Tavis Korabi. He is a British musician with Israeli descent, and what I really liked about this was kind of the very modern feel and very modern take with rock music, but set more into a kind of a prog rock feel. Now, as I said, when I first listened to this album, I didn't quite see what the big deal was. Prog magazine was giving it some really, really great reviews. Even the prog websites that I frequent, all were giving this guy really, really rave reviews. And so when I was listening to it, I didn't feel all that connected. I didn't really see where all this praise was coming from. Now that I've had 3, 4, even 5 months to let it digest, I've revisited it. I was actually getting sucked into it. I mean, even though the guitars are kind of the main things here, I love how this band was incorporating horns and woodwinds, and especially the oboe, really well in a lot of these songs. And the album opens up really, really strongly with High Aflame. This song kind of lays the foundation for where the album is going to go and just what to expect with the album. I really like, again, that use of the horn section to really advance the sounds. And I love how Tavis has blended his vocals very, very well with Melanie Woods, who's the main percussionist and vocals on this album. So the two of them blending their vocal style here within that first song, that really swept me off my feet, and the more I listened to it, the more I really, really enjoyed it. And within that song, it blends very well within the second song of The Germ Inside, and I like how the dance within the music takes on in this. I like how there's some kind of minor singing that blends very well within more of a major chord structure, and so how this kind of comes about is very well done, and I think that might be what I love so much about this album, is the energy that's being brought here. We've got a very lively percussion section, and all that rhythm that's coming in with it is ushering that song forward. So we have a lot of inertia coming through. Coming into the third track of I Am Lost, that energy that we felt within those first two songs is kind of lost. And this is kind of where I first kind of put my back up when I listened to this album. I Am Lost is the longest song at just over 7 minutes, so I figured this would have somewhere else to go, and unfortunately it really didn't have too much room to grow. I feel like the band has kind of put themselves into this kind of a box, and they're not really playing out of it too much. So unfortunately that was a little bit of a drawback on this album, and one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually get into the album. But speaking about this, the fourth song of The Deathless is a very great and soothing track. It's being led very well with the rhythm section and drum beats, and I feel when a song is rooted in this, it can either work very, very well or just fall apart completely, and luckily this worked very, very well. And this kind of mellow section is echoed within the next two songs of The Foul Temple and The Visions of the Bent Path. There's really nothing new going on with these songs, they're just kind of there, which actually ushers us into the, I guess, single or leading track off of this album of I Must Set Fire to Your Portrait. And this song was actually what got me introduced to this band. I don't know, overall, it didn't really land very well with me. Again, there's nothing really wrong with this song, it's just, it's one of those songs that didn't really quite it didn't really hit me very, very well. And I'm not exactly sure why. Which is strange, because there's a middle jam session with the oboe and the bassoon that really reminds me of like a Griffin song, and I love Griffin. So whenever I'm hearing something that reminds me of Griffin, it's giving thumbs up and aces in my books. But I think that blending that modern style of music within that kind of a sense, it took a little bit longer for my brain to kind of get attuned with that and be like, okay, I can get on board with that. And that's probably another reason why it took me so long to get into these tracks. And the 8th song of Lowered into Necromancy. I like this song in the end, like after all is said and done, and after I've kind of listened to the song and digested it. The beginning parts of this track is a little bit chaotic, and again, I like the chaoticness of a song, and so it kind of has that chaotic and then resolution near the end, and I really like how this song is ushered out. And then the last couple of songs, it doesn't really tread any new ground for me. I feel like we've already been here before. The 10th song of Secret Worlds has a piece in the middle that reminds me very, very much of a Porcupine Tree song. There's that guitar section that really reminds me of it. And the album ends with Feel the Sorcery, and this feels like a very fun, kind of everybody can get on board type of alternative rock kind of a song. But yeah, it doesn't really paint any new ground, it's just kind of there and doesn't really do too much. So, I mean, in the end, originally when I first hear this, I was going to give this a skip. I was going to say, skip this album, don't waste your time on it. But the more I listen to it, the more I feel like, you know, there is some merit behind this album. There is something here to be discovered. Overall, though, my overall rating is still probably stream this album, because I still want to recommend it. If you like the stuff that Thank You Scientists, Coheed and Cambria, The Deer Hunter, if you're liking more of that modern progressive rock take on things, then I definitely say give this a spin. This might be up your alley. Unfortunately, it still isn't quite up mine fully. Even after I rediscovered it, it still isn't there for me, but you know, it might be up for yours. I'm still trying to figure out what people are really liking this album from. So if you loved it, if you hated it, if you loved it, please let me know what really brought you to this album. Let me know by commenting below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.